We're in an 8-part sermon series on the Beatitudes, right? The Beatitudes that Jesus begins his Sermon on the Mount with. The Sermon on the Mount, of course, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. The Beatitudes are the attitudes Jesus is teaching us that make us happy, right? Jesus understands as he begins his most famous sermon, the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, that at the heart of every person is the longing just to be happy. Be warned, though, Jesus has a radical definition of happiness, doesn't he? Jesus takes this word happiness and he uses it in a countercultural way. A way that we would least expect, a way that turns everything upside down when it comes to our definition of happiness. How so? Well, let's just take a look at the first 4 Beatitudes that we've already covered. Blessed, remember the word can also be better understood, translated as happy. Happy are the poor in spirit. Happy are people who have nothing when they approach God because they will get everything. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven. So happy are spiritually poor people. They get everything. The kingdom of heaven. Jesus says happy are those who mourn. Happy are those who are honest with life's difficulties and disappointments, right? They don't cover it up. They don't have a stiff upper lip. Blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, not the weak, right? Not the weak. We covered that a couple weeks ago. Blessed are the meek, people who have strength under control, for they will inherit the earth. And last week, Jesus says happiness is when we hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's to say, his declaration that we are right with God through the shed blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Those are awfully strange ways to be happy, right? But do you notice what Jesus does in the 5th Beatitude? Do you see the shift here when we go to the top right of our chart? Blessed, happy are the merciful. What's Jesus doing there? Do you catch it? Jesus is changing from our relationship with God, which would be the first 4 Beatitudes. We could summarize those in one word: humility. Humility, that's my attitude toward God, humility. Jesus is saying, now that you have this relationship with God right, now I'm going to move to relationships with people. People. So you get your heart right with God in the first 4, and then and only then is your heart right toward people. This sounds a lot like what? Most famous part of the Bible, the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments, right? Commandments 1 through 3 deal with our relationship with God. You'll have no other gods before me. Don't take my name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Once that is in place, then God says, turn to people. And we have Commandments 4 through 10. Honor your parents. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal, don't lie, don't covet. Both the Beatitudes and the sermon that Moses gives, the 10 Commandments, both of these text passages take place on mountains, right? Of course, the Beatitudes take place on the Sermon on the Mount, and the 10 Commandments take place on a mountain called Mount Sinai. And on both mountains, God is teaching us the bricks and mortar, the basics, the meat and potatoes of living. When I get my heart and attitude right toward God, then I will have my heart and my attitude right toward people. First things first. And the first thing is direct my heart toward God. And then I can direct my heart toward people. And what is my first response? What does Jesus lead with when it comes to people? Well, it's right up there. It's the fifth beatitude. Blessed, happy, people are full of vim and vigor and life when they are merciful. Merciful. There it is. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Why does Jesus lead with mercy when it comes to people? If I don't have mercy when it comes to people, my relationships with people will tank. I will end up using people. I will end up judging people. I will end up having no significant relationships with people. So let's take a look at this fifth beatitude. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. We start with an event off the Alaskan coast, March 24th, 1989. Those of you who are closer to the front, God bless you, by the way. Thank you very much. But you can see the name of this massive oil tanker. It's the Exxon Valdez. And we all know about the Exxon Valdez. March 24th, 1989. The Exxon Valdez captain gave orders to a second mate, who then gave orders to people steering the oil tanker. And something happened in the sequence of orders, and the Exxon Valdez ran aground on Bly Reef. And you know the rest of that story, right? This massive collision ended up with 11 million gallons of crude oil mixed in one of the most scenic bodies of water in the world. Everything was sticky and gooey and ugly and full of sludge and crude oil, right? The surface of the water, rocks, otters, seagulls, you name it. People in Alaska were infuriated. People who worked at Exxon were humiliated. As massive and messy as that collision was, it pales in comparison to the kinds of collisions you and I have with people. Expectations aren't met. Promises go unfulfilled. We begin feeling hot under our collar. Pretty soon we're just downright angry. Forget the verbal pistols that are firing verbal bullets. Sometimes, truth be told, sometimes we say, forget the verbal bullets, let's drop verbal nuclear bombs. And then what happens? What happens to us and what happens to people that we are colliding with? Well, broken hearts. Game over. I'm done. It hurts. It hurts during the collision and it hurts after the collision. A thick film of crude oil called bitterness coats the surface of our soul. A dark wave of resentment suffocates our joy and soaks all the hope out of our lives. Game over. When did it happen to you? Maybe it happened years ago. There is a collision between you and someone else. A parent abused you. A coach slighted you. That happened to me any number of times, by the way. A spouse betrayed you. A business partner walked out on you. But maybe the collision is fresh. Maybe you just started a new job, and the boss who hired you, who promised promotion after promotion, now can't even correctly pronounce your last name. Or maybe you're in high school and your friends all went out on Friday night and they didn't include you. Or maybe your adult son forgot your birthday again. Whatever it is, it hurts. It hurts bad. Really bad. If you're anything like me, if you're anything like the rest of the people on the planet, quite often you turn to what? Resentment. Resentment. Resentment is the arsonist being consumed by the fire he starts. Resentment is the hunter being trapped by the trap he sets. Resentment is taking the poker to the fire and turning the embers and replaying the pain over and over again. Resentment is when we allow hurt to become hate. Resentment is like loading a gun, pointing it at your head, pulling the trigger, and hoping your enemy is hurt in the recoil. What am I saying? Resentment destroys people. Resentment destroys me. Jesus knows that. That's why he tells us this parable, right? Our gospel lesson in Matthew chapter 18. This picture shows one of the main people in the parable. The man there dressed in the red robe, he's the servant, right? He's the one who owed the king in the parable 10,000 talents. That's an equivalent of 164,000 days of work. That's about 7 lifetimes worth of work. And this guy in the red, he owes the king that much. And the king says, I've got mercy on you. I'm going to cancel the debt. You're free. Well, you know what the servant then does. He goes to someone who owes him 100 denarii. That's just 100 days worth of work. So let me repeat. 164,000 days of work. That's mucho dinero, folks. Lots of money. And he has just had the king show mercy to him. And irony of ironies, he turns to someone who owes him 100 days of work and starts choking him and demanding justice. Jesus says that attitude destroyed that servant in the red robe, and it also destroyed his family. We don't need more justice. We need more mercy. What does mercy mean? Mercy means deep compassion. There's a story behind this Hebrew word for mercy. The context where we see where our God is merciful in Exodus 34 is very instructive. Because in Exodus chapter 32, Aaron the high priest builds a golden calf, and the Israelites worship the golden calf. And what does God lead with? Not justice or vengeance or indignation or wrath. He leads in what? Mercy. So Yahweh, right after the golden calf, in chapter 32, passes before Moses and proclaimed Yahweh, Yahweh. L-O-R-D in all caps, right? This is the only time in the Old Testament where Lord, Lord, or Yahweh, Yahweh is repeated. This is your God. This is my God. He leads with what? He's a God of mercy. He's merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. The Hebrew word for merciful here sounds like this, rakum, which is related to the Hebrew word, here comes the story behind the word, related to the Hebrew word rakum. Get it? Rakum, merciful, rakum. What does rakum mean? Here's the story. Rakum is a mother's womb. Now, normally, a mother's womb is the safest place on the planet for people who are vulnerable and helpless and weak. Just as a mother is emotionally connected to that child in utero that is completely helpless and weak and vulnerable, so our God, Yahweh, the Lord, has that same emotional tie with who? You. Rakum, merciful, Rakum, a mother's womb. And so we might think that because of what Israel had just done, right, built the golden calf, that Yahweh would say, I don't want this child, I'm going to abort this child. Yahweh could never do that. Because he's Rakum. He's just like a mother tied to the child in utero. Judgment wants justice done. Mercy is deep compassion. Justice keeps a record of wrongs. Mercy shows kindness and love. Justice wants full and complete payback. Mercy is rakum, tied forever emotionally to Israel. Here's a picture of our granddaughter, Meryl Rose. She's 9 months old and 4 days today, but who's counting, all right? So, and Meryl, of course, is with our oldest daughter, Abby. Many of you know that Abby and her husband, Adam, have Meryl, and Meryl is their firstborn child. Now, if you've had children, there is something about that firstborn child, right? We love them all, but there's something about the firstborn. When you have the firstborn, every little sniffle, every little temperature, every little cry, every little totter, every little fall, that catapults you into instant action. Don't pull that plug. Watch out for that rug. Oh, please, please, please. Whatever you do, don't eat that bug. Now, we love all the kids, but there's nothing like a firstborn. Abby and Adam, like all parents, are quick, oh, so quick to show mercy to Meryl Rose because she's so helpless. I've got news for you. Everybody's helpless. Everybody's hurting. Everybody has a story. Everybody's got baggage. Everybody's broken. Everyone doesn't need our justice and judgment. They need what? Mercy. Deep compassion. That's mercy's meaning. Mercy's mark is forgiveness. Mercy's meaning is actually an emotional word, right? I just don't walk around with a hard heart all the time. I've got a heart of compassion. That's my internal feeling. But externally, that shows itself in forgiveness. Mercy's meaning, deep compassion. Mercy's mark, forgiveness. Look how Jesus, in this context, connects mercy with forgiveness. Be merciful. This is Luke 6. Even as your Father is merciful, is he ever? Is he ever? Judge not, you will not be judged. Condemn not, you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Mercy's mark is forgiveness. Now, what's the opposite of forgiveness? I would say it's this word, grudge. Grudge. And here's your other word of the day, onomatopoeia. 7 syllables. Great word. Onomatopoeia. What does onomatopoeia mean? It means that the word is defined by its sound. Grudge is defined by its sound. Grr. Like all those dogs who chase me when I'm out riding my bike. Like all those dogs who chase me when I'm out running. Like all those dogs in the back alley holding on to their bone. Grr. You hold a grudge, you're like an angry dog holding a bone. Replace G and R with S and L, and what do you have? Sludge. Sludge. Grimy, thick, ugly, messy sludge. You hold a grudge, you're living in sludge. No happy hikes up the mountain. No carefree walks through the meadow. No, just sludge with your head down, shoulders against the wind, talking to yourself because you're holding a grudge. Does this work? It doesn't. I know that. It doesn't bring any happiness, right? The most miserable people in the world are the people holding a grudge. Benjamin Franklin put it this way: you are best to yourself when you are good toward others. Do you know that? You are best to yourself when you're good toward others. That's what Jesus says. Blessed, happy are the merciful, because they will receive mercy. That's mercy's mark. Forgiveness. Mercy's meaning deep compassion. Mercy's motive. Only one motive to live this way, and that'd be Jesus. 4 times in the New Testament, people come to Jesus and say, Lord, have mercy. First time is in Matthew 9. There's a blind man. Lord, have mercy. And then in Matthew 15:22, there's a mother whose daughter is demon-possessed. Chapter 17, there's a father whose son is an epileptic. And in Mark 10:47, the man crying out to Jesus, Lord, have mercy. His name is blind Bartimaeus, and he's blind as a bat, and he just wants to see. And every time, Jesus shows mercy. Of course, Jesus' greatest demonstration of mercy was on a Friday we still call good. Mercy allows Jesus to take the kiss of betrayal from Judas. Mercy, because Jesus has mercy, he allows the soldiers to rough him up and mock him and spit upon him. Because Jesus has mercy, he allows Pilate to stick him on wood like a scarecrow. Because Jesus has mercy, he hangs between heaven and earth for 6 God-forsaken hours. Mercy has a name. Jesus. Psalm 136. 26 times, all right? So Psalm 136, 26 times says his mercy endures, you know the next word, forever. Isn't that great? This mercy of Jesus endures forever. And Psalm 136 celebrates that 26 times. Ki olam kasdo in Hebrew is a famous line, right? His mercy endures forever. Psalm 23, verse 6, goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life. Because mercy has a name. Jesus. Collisions, though, happen, don't they? Between spouses and parents and their children and members in the church. Certainly in the office, collisions happen, right? And it gets all messy and gooey and ugly and sludgy and grudgy, and our hearts break. We become full of resentment and bitterness. Set yourself free. Set that other person free. Get out of the sludge. Quit holding the grudge. How do I do that? Fifth beatitude. Way to be happy. Happy are the merciful. They'll receive mercy. Let's stand and sing about it, shall we?